about Joe in Time magazine. My gosh, it must be what, 30, 40 years ago now?
4 years.
No, Joe was long before that. I couldn't read 4 years. All right. Well, in any event, Joe's background. Joe Touch came to Bowdoin from Wakefield and graduated as a psych major at Bowdoin. After a stint in the Army, he went to Catholic University in Washington and received a doctorate in clinical psychology. He is now a professor in the psychology department at Boston College and a lecturer at BU, Boston University, for those of you not from the area. Before teaching at BC, he did research on aging and Alzheimer's disease. And Joe, do your classmates get a discount? Well, in any event, I could use a discount. Let me start again. Before teaching at BC, he did research on aging and Alzheimer's in the neurology department at Tufts and in the psychiatry department at BU School of Medicine. His main professional interests are how the brain regulates attention and how the mind affects the body during times of stress. A couple of glasses of wine, a few beers, and there's really no stress. Today he will discuss the importance of body language, especially eye movements. So anybody care about eye movements? Joe's wife of 50 years, Mary Jo, and I assume she's here. Okay. They live in Wellesley, which is nearby me, have 5 children, one of whom is Dr. Christopher Touch, a Bowdoin son, class of '84, which is a year after my daughter was graduated, a psychologist, and he's also here today, I believe. Okay. All right. Welcome. You're on.
You have the outlines.
No, we don't have them.
Raise your hand if you don't have an outline.
Is that what the quiz, Joe?
Put it up higher.
I like peeking.
That's fine.
copy of all of the PowerPoint slides. Right there, you're going to take one on the way out. Therefore, I'm going to move quickly and try to keep you awake because we're short on time and I'll start a little bit late. Okay, I want to finish, so I'll get it done. So, you have the outline, PowerPoint slides, all of them. Well, one taken out because of privacy issues. Okay, I'll show you'll see why. So, thanks for coming here on a Saturday night. I really appreciate it. This is a wonderful group to engage with. And again, Mary Jo and Chris, thanks for being here. Bob, what can I say? Bob Delaney, Hardy Stevens, Dave Anderson, Charlie Christie, and Bill Hayes just do it right and do it perfectly. They make it so easy to come here. And above it all is the magician, Bob says. The magician of administration. She is efficient, she's pleasant, she's prompt, she gets back to you quickly. I told her I might not have the outlines, all the outlines. She came totally with new outlines, just in case. And then she's out there and she says, you know, Joe, we might wait a few minutes because I saw two people crossing the lawn. Is that a good heart? So aren't we lucky to have Marty Janeway? Strange as it may seem, I wouldn't be here today except for a couple of strange incidents. Bill Shaw allowed me to come to Bowdoin without applying. What a break. It's a story that can only be told in the Bowdoin magazine last September, and I won't go into it. And when I got here, I did apply. After a few classes, I did apply. Lucky guy.
Were you accepted?
No. Why'd you have to bring that up? No. In fact, they revoked my degree 2 years later. Matt O'Donnell, one of my heroes, because he put us on the map. I had a little dialogue with him on body language, and he booked the breakfast 3 months ago that really made it very delightful. And he also got David Treadwell. Dave, you here? No? David Treadwell wrote the article in the Bowdoin magazine with Matt O'Donnell's prompting, and that put us on the map and made this thing possible and made the Bowdoin breakfast possible. So I wanted to say thanks to those guys. I think that's all we have, except for maybe an introductory joke. And you gray-haired guys, you'll appreciate it. This couple was having trouble remembering things because they were a little older, like 54. And I went to a doctor and he said, "Oh, write it down. Write things down if you can't remember them." I said, "Okay." They went home. They were turning in, and husband turns to the wife and says, "Honey, you want me to get you a snack before we turn in?" She says, "Yeah." So she goes in the bedroom. He says, "What would you like?" "Well, I like some ice cream, vanilla ice cream." But write it down. No. Got it, no problem. "Well, I want some cream, whipped cream on the vanilla ice cream." "You better write it down." No, I'm good." "I want some nuts on the whipped cream on the vanilla ice cream." "You better write it down." No. "And a cherry on the top. Please write it down." "No, I'm good. I'm cool." She goes in the kitchen and she hears pots and pans, bang, bang. And he comes out with a dish of scrambled eggs. And she rolls her eyes and she says, "Hey, where's the toast?" 55, reunion 55, June 5, and I was going to say this talk is going to be how many minutes?
5.
One, that's the audience. Party, 55 minutes. No. 56 minutes. 56 minutes minus 5 seconds. Well, some of you got it, and the rest of you just have to go along with the ride. So, here we go. Next slide.
There you go.
Body language. Simple communication without words. It looks simple, gets a little more complicated. Why is body language important? Why can't we get along with words? Natalie, okay? Volume okay? Dave?
Very good.
My neighbors, former neighbors on Mayor Road. Okay. All right, the ABCs. A, B, C, A. Words are weak, and they need enrichment. And you saw that the last 3 days here at Bowdoin. Somebody come up to you and said, "Nice to see you again, Joe." "Nice to see you again, Bob. Good introduction. Thank you so much for that introduction." And a nice smile on my face. "Bob, thank you." Smile, handshake. We need enrichment because words don't do the trick. You know, they used to say, picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, body language is worth at least 10,000 words in many cases. And words can fool you. No big insight here. We have every 4 years we get fooled. Words can fool you. And we'll talk a little bit about lying. We'll talk a little bit about some people. And sometimes there are no words, and I'm going to show you a dramatic demonstration of body language taking the place of words because this person can't talk. Dramatic. So we have these 3 reasons, and they're summarized here. We can be weak, we need enrichment, it can be misleading as in lying, and sometimes there aren't any words. Now, this talk could possibly be academic and boring, but I promise you that it won't be academic. Next slide. Sometimes body language is, most of the time body language is unconscious. We don't know what we're tipping off to people about our moods. And most of the time, and this is what tonight's all about, you're not picking up the cues of body language as you should. So it's a little bit subliminal or below the radar. And tonight, it's no longer going to be below the radar for these 35.6 people. A smile, handshake, thumbs up are indicators how we feel. I shook hands with Bob, thanked him for the introduction, and it showed him I appreciated it and smiled a little bit. That shows how I feel. But there's a more powerful function of body language. I call this the indicator function, indicating what the person feels and sometimes what the person thinks. But it also has an effect on Bob because he smiled back and he shook my hand and gave me a little flesh back. Therefore, it has an effect on people. And we'll see him. No, that's good. Back. Sorry. It influences how others feel. This is huge. We have no idea how powerful body language can be in affecting other people's moods and states around us. We have no idea. You think a smile is just a smile? You know how these wonderful staff people would smile when we entered the building, smile when we sat down, and it just made you feel good and welcome. Right? We know that. But it's more nuanced and more subtle and not as easily perceptible in an adversarial situation when you have an argument with your wife. No, we don't have to do that. Sometimes scratch that. Delete. So be aware of the power of body language. And then tonight we're going to bring some of that stuff, as I say, about threshold. So these are two categories. It indicates how someone feels, and it's an instrumental way of my now affecting how someone else feels. So it's another way of affecting other people's moods and thoughts and how they relate to us. So I'm going to show you how body language can engage and disengage. And it's going to be so obvious, you're going to say, oh man, I gave up my Saturday night from this. Well, you're not often thinking about it. I'm just going to bring it back to you. It's going to be review. And then we'll get into the heavy-duty stuff, which won't be so, not heavy-duty, but the more entertaining stuff on the presidential elections, which will be a little bit new for you, I think, except for Bob Delaney, who reads Time magazine. All right. 1988. Okay, Andy? Yeah, that's good. So these are obvious. They're obvious when you see them on the screen. They're not obvious in the heat of battle. They're not obvious when you're engaged or in the middle of a personal discussion or dispute. And the only caveat here is, and this is something I've published on a million times, this inverted U thing where too little of something is not good for you, too much of something isn't good for you, and as Grandma said, everything in moderation. That's important to remember because this looks a little bit like, okay, soft voice. Goodbye, everyone leaves the room. Can't hear the guy. Mr. Mumbles and Dick Tracy, Dustin Hoffman. Didn't Dustin Hoffman, Mary Jo?
Yeah.
Dustin Hoffman, Chris? Mr. Mumbles. Yeah, they left him in the field. So these are ways of engaging, and these are ways. You get this slide so you can look at it and practice it. Next slide, Andy. Let's focus on eye movements and move along quickly so we can get to that final DVD. Eye movements. You know, some philosopher, I forget who it was, said that the eyes are the windows of the soul. Who was it? Eyes are the windows of the soul. Obama? No. Famous philosopher, yeah. Next slide. Oh, a little philosophy. Let's go philosophy for a couple of slides. Oh, I love Ralph Waldo Emerson. He's one of my heroes. Ralph Waldo Emerson, one of my heroes. Oh, back. Oh, back. He's saying the next time you watch presidential debates, you listen carefully to what's being said, but watch their eye movements, you'll see a pro at gaze aversion coming up. A pro at gaze aversion, like 6,000 during the debates. You'd be surprised at who it is. Next slide. And then I love this Russian proverb. I had to dig one up for St. Petersburg when I gave a talk there a year ago. And I found this one and I liked it. It just was a wonderful intro to my talk. It is better to see once than hear 100 times. So the visual modality is very important. 80% of all the information you get in this world comes through the visual modality. 80%. So it's important. Eye movements are important. Next slide, Andy. What is the role of eye blinks? One type of eye movement is eye blinks. Another type of eye movement is gaze aversion. That's a new story. There's a new kid on the block for me. A new kid on the block. A little etymology. Next. All right. Now the next 3 or 4 slides are heavy and loaded with information, and they're leading to my hypothesis that I developed. And then after that, it's fun and games. No, seriously. Bear with me in the next 4 slides, which are heavy. And then after that, it's lighthearted, goosey-goosey stuff. Okay? Isn't this interesting? The word blink in the English language is nothing but negative. It's nothing but negative for years. like this one about a dog that won't point, a hunting dog that won't point. On the blink, we've used that phrase. Oh, my word processor is on the blink. Next slide, a little science. That was etymology, now a little science. What did nature do? Why did nature give us blinking? Well, these are the 4 functions. And by the way, this is a little bit of a side. Bowdoin College is loaded with pollen. I don't know if any of you have. Whoa! Thank you so much. That made my night because my hard lenses have been killing me all day. I said, how am I going to go give a talk tonight on blinks if I'm blinking the pollen out of my eyes all the time? And one media interview I did, I just before the interview, I got something in my eye, and I told the guy, sorry, the interview has to be delayed 10 minutes. He said, why? I said, see you later. Popped out the lens, got the eyelash out of there. How can I go on television and say, rapid eye blinks are a measure of stress and insecurity? So these are the true scientific physiological functions of blinking. Oops. That. And you get this slide to take home. Next one. A little more science. The next couple heavy, it's a big review of the literature. I'm writing a book on it. I hope to finish it in my sabbatical next year. And this is it. The literature since 1927, the year Babe Ruth hit. Oh, this group is so good. The literature shows unequivocally this. Experimental, in the laboratory, in the field, show anything that's stressful, takes effort, fatigue, with these measures, increases eye blink rate. Negative hedonic states, it's a fancy way of saying negative feeling states, produce increase in eye blink rate. Let's flip the coin. Oops. Back up. No, go forward. It's okay, I just made a little typo there. I had my tab button hit when I was preparing the slide. But relaxation, hypnosis and meditation, decrease eye blink rate, pleasure, methadone, feeling of achievement on the bottom line. I'll have to change that slide. Chris, I should change the slide. Feeling of achievement, discussion of positive. So, positive things. Meeting an old classmate. Oh, hi, how you doing? You're not blinking. Negative things. President Bill says we need more money. Is this on tape? Next slide. Okay. The computer's funny. Negative feelings, increase blink rate, positive feelings. Negative feelings, increase blink rate, positive feelings, decrease it. That's the summary of all the literature since Babe Ruth. And then the next slide will give you the principle.
What's hedonia mean, Joe?
Feeling. You weren't paying attention, I told you. No. Feelings and hedonia means feelings. Now look at this. Blink frequency is increased by unpleasant feelings and decreased by pleasant feelings. This blink hedonia hypothesis covers it all and is really quite synthetic in integrating tons and tons of research. The implications are pretty profound in the social interaction, as we saw on one of the previous slides. And now let's go. All right, blink, accurate indicator of stress. Let's go. Now, 30 to 50 blinks per minute is okay if someone's under stress giving a talk, or someone in the front row asking a lot of questions and getting in the way. Blink rate goes up if you're in front of an audience, in front of a lot of people. And in an average room situation, it's only 15 to 20 blinks per minute. But on television, presidential candidates, 30 to 50. That's your benchmark. Now we go and look at what is not 30 to 50 on television in debates. Lost. That's the highest blink rate of a president. No, Bob Dole beat him. No, that's the next highest blink rate of a presidential candidate. Now, 30 to 50, he's double Max, the 104. Obama is over 52, but compared to, what's his name, John McCain, he's not. Next slide will give you an impressive total. Look at this. 3 debates. There's a 4,000 blink difference, almost 4,000 blinks between these two guys in the 3 debates. This is accurate. This is an obsessive compulsive guy counting it. Yeah, my eyeballs. Now, here's the important thing. Andy. Oh, let's do the first video. I have a summary slide that's after this video that's really quite profound about all the presidential elections in the past 20 years. Watch Obama and his gays aversion. Watch John McCain with his you know what. See that? Look up.
School districts do some of the things they need to do. Now, we tried to do this under President Bush. He put forward No Child Left Behind. Unfortunately, though, they left the money behind for No Child Left Behind. And local school districts end up having more of a burden, a bunch of unfunded mandates, the same kind of thing that happened with special education, where we did the right thing by saying every school should provide education to kids with special needs, but we never followed through on the promise of funding.
Precious children who have autism. Sarah Palin knows about that better than most. And we'll find, and we'll spend the money researching to find the cause of autism. And we'll care for these young children. And all Americans will open their wallets and their hearts to do so. But to have a situation, as you mentioned in our earlier comments, that the most expensive education in the world is in the United States of America also means that it cries out for reform as well.
Right, so that's the first video. That's the first video. And now the next PowerPoint slide should summarize, I think. Oh, yes. All the debates, including the Nixon-Kennedy debate. The faster blinker always loses the popular vote, but in one case, in the year 2000, Bush lost the popular vote because he was blinking faster, but that electoral college played, I don't know how it played out, but it did something different. And he won the election. Now, my students got on my case and said, hey, you weren't perfect. You know, you missed out in 2000. I went, ho, ho, ho. Nobody in the United States knew who won the election, and the Supreme Court had to step in. Don't blame blink rate. Come on, don't blame blink rate. That's impressive. So the next slide, Andy, will summarize and say, blink frequency is an accurate predictor of U.S. presidential election outcomes. Not perfect, missed once, but an accurate. Next slide. Okay, gaze avoidance. You saw Obama looking down a lot, and Roger looks down a lot. Gaze aversion. Now, can you imagine Obama looking down 1,630 times in the 3 debates and no one noticing it? No one picking it up? That's huge. Even I didn't see it. I just luckily afterwards stepped on it. So gaze aversion is the new kid on the block for body language in order to gauge whether someone's uncomfortable. No, liar is a trick. Gaze aversion doesn't show people lying. It just shows they're uncomfortable for different reasons. In Roger's case, I think it's lying, and I'll show you why. But LIAR stands for, back up. Look intermittently away rate. And Now, in Roger's case, he was, I think, lying. In Obama's case, I don't think he was, and this is the reason. I don't want my income tax. No, here's the real reason. Roger showed the 3 R's in his testimony. Natalie, okay?
Yep.
Roger showed the 3 R's in the testimony in Congress on the steroid use. Reliability, everyone knows that picks up on it. Someone says to you A, and then 5 minutes later, not A. Okay, we know that. The other 2 are a little more nuanced. Roger, did you use steroids? I never used steroids. I never did do steroids. No, I didn't use steroids. No, I did not use steroids. I did not use steroids. Whoa, whoa, whoa. How many times do you have to say you didn't use steroids before you say, why is the guy saying it so many times? Redundancy is a little bit of a red flag that someone might be disingenuous. That's a nice way of saying you know why. Relevance. Roger, did you use steroids? Well, my daddy left when I was a little kid. Roger, did you use steroids? I have a foundation that helps people every day. So, if somebody doesn't answer your question and goes off to Robin's barn, that's a tip-off. So the 3 R's, I think, this is my development, so I don't know. The research probably will show it up pretty much because I've seen it. The 3 R's, along with gaze aversion, the 3 R's, along with blink rate going up, will be a tip-off. Someone's being disingenuous. Okay, next slide. Okay, now you've all heard this before, right? The dog ate my homework, Professor Tetch. I'm sorry, I can't pass it in until next semester. The dog's hungry. Roger, next slide. Said, my dog ate the steroids. I didn't make them. My dog ate my steroids. And you know what? He was telling the truth. Andy. Is that grotesque? Andy, video 2, we're going to skip because we're going to see Roger and we saw John. Video 3, okay. Oh, cool. Little intro. Fox TV came to me and said, would you help us promote this new program, Lie to Me? We know you do work on lie detection. I said, no. He said, oh, would you please? He said, oh, too soft? He said, yeah, we really need it. He said, because a new program is going to do a lot of good for people. I said, okay, you got me. It's going to do a lot of good for people. So it came out, and you're going to see the interview that they played every 15 minutes up until the first showing of Lie to Me, which I think was in January, February, somewhere around there. And in that interview, we had some fun. Bob Ward, the interviewer, and I, Bob Ward from Fox 25. And
You keep talking about my won't play again.
can I see the slide back just for a second?
Oh, sure, sorry.
No, because otherwise I'll forget what I'm
Sure, sorry.
This is right. You got me, Andy. Roger Clemens, O.J. Simpson, quick head movements. Roger Clemens, gaze aversion, 18 per minute, big, 18 per minute. Rod Blagojevich, say it again. Harvey worked, Harvey here? Harvey Stevens? Trial began yesterday, Harvey? Trial started yesterday. Harvey, how do you say his name? Okay, thank you. In Casey Anthony, a would-be murderer of children. So anyway, you're going to see these people show different, and Bob Ward explains it very well. And as I say, Harvey told me yesterday that the Rod trial started yesterday, the jury selection, so this is quite coincidental. Okay, Andy, sorry to hold you up.
Deal? I think you did a fine
I think
job.
you did well. We'll keep another week at least.
All right.
Tonight, Fox premiered a brand new series seen right here on Fox 25.
It's called Lie to Me, and it reveals the art of lie detection. Well, Fox 25's Bob Ward tonight shows us how one local expert uses body language to figure out who's lying.
Some gentleman's using HGH for false.
You might think it's easy to spot a liar,
I will be properly exonerated.
but is it really?
I was trying.
How do we really know when someone is lying? On the new Fox series, Lie to Me, the FBI and other police agencies hired Dr. Cal Lightman, a deception expert, to root out liars.
I'm certainly not going to identify that with an answer. And that is an expression of deep shame.
In real life, Boston College psychology professor Joe Tetch does the same thing.
It takes energy to suppress the truth and let lying come off the bench and play the game.
The science of lying all comes down to our bodies. What our brain tries to hide through lying, our bodies often give away on their own.
Keep your fingers off your nose. Itches when they're hiding something.
And if there's one thing that's a liar's dead giveaway, Joe Tetch says it's the eye.
Any negative emotion has to be a candidate that speaks to the issue of lying. So for me, eye movements, gaze aversion, looking down, double blinks are a sign of nervousness. So anything that shows nervousness for me is a red flag.
Tetch is an expert on lying. He studies videos looking for the telltale signs of lying. This is O.J. Simpson and his recent sentencing.
Right, watch the head movements. See the quick head movements? That's usually a sign of nervousness.
And it's something Tetch sees in Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich, recently impeached for putting President Barack Obama's Senate seat up for sale. For Tetch, it's all in the eyes.
Double blink. Double blink. Here you go. He's trying to avoid expressing any emotion, and the double blinks are coming through.
Joe Tetch counts the blinks. Most people blink 15 times a minute. Public speakers who are not lying, 30 to 50 blinks per minute. Governor Blagojevich,
He's 66 blinks per minute, which could mean he's very nervous, or it could mean he's faking it.
baseball pitcher Roger Clemens testifying before Congress. For Joe Tetch, a perfect case study in lying.
You see Roger Clemens looks away, particularly looking down a lot. Gaze aversion is a tip-off that he's nervous. And he does this on the order of 18 times a minute, which is a high look-away rate.
Casey Anthony, the Florida mother accused of killing her daughter Kaylee and covering it up with lies, is in jail awaiting trial. But her conversations with her family, recorded on a prison surveillance system, provide Joe Tetch a glimpse into Casey Anthony's mind.
She's got a pretty fast blink rate, as I see it. And you see she had double blinks when she looked down.
And when we add up Casey Anthony's blink rate, we got 60 blinks per minute, almost as much as Governor Blagojevich.
It tells me that this woman is nervous, is hurting, and her crying may be a very accurate reflection of deep, deep psychological pain. It could also mean that she might be faking it a little bit.
Blink rates, gaze aversion, lack of focus, all things to watch for if you think someone is lying to you. I'm Bob Ward, Fox 25 News.
So you're gonna start counting people's blinks from now on? Maybe you guys at home can count our blinks in the course of a newscast. That would be
Right
interesting.
there. Did it again. They want to know. Log on our website, myfoxwap.
Back up one and see what. Go to the next. In this next video, Richard Nixon, who gave me the clue about this, in August 8, 74, good. And he was resigning, giving his resignation speech, and was calm, cool, and collected, except he was blinking 70 times a minute. It was more than the schizophrenics in our laboratory. That's what I told Time magazine. And so now he's 2 or 3 years after resigning, his blink rate's gone down. But watch carefully in this video, you will see a moment when it looks like he's closing his eyes. In slow-mo, it's 3 or 4 rapid blinks, and it's amazing how quickly he does them. I call them eye blink storms. They're a sign of stress. Robert Dole is champ. Champ. 15 years, untouchable. He is the champ. And in this case, 1992, the Republicans lost the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And this hair shirt guy is interviewing him. His name is Brian, what's his name, Rachel? Brian Gumble? Brian Gumble. He's a hair shirt. He's a real irritating guy. So he starts teasing Dole, and Dole shoots up. That's the fastest blink rate I've ever recorded. That's 3 per second. And you're going to see it, and it's dramatic. And then finally, Ross Perot, with an unblinking reptilian stare. Whoa! This guy doesn't blink. He's into control. Low blink rate, control. And then a mystery man, which I'll say. Okay. We're almost. Is it okay if I go 55 minutes? Sure. I need a few more minutes because.
55 seconds.
Oh, good. Hey, no, thank you. Bob says, was that you? Who said that?
Hey,
Bob says 55 seconds. It was 55.
It's going to be easy for me to do like many other former officials to spend my time relaxing, playing golf, playing bridge, and that sort of thing. But as far as I'm concerned, when I have so little time left, I want to use every minute of it sharing my views to the extent that they are useful with others, whether they disagree with them or not. I think it's important now that we hear all the views we can possibly get.
How bad a night is this for the GOP? Well, we don't know yet. It's not a good night for the GOP, but I think the important thing is that you put our votes together with Ross Perot's, we've got a majority of the American people. And as the Republican leader in the Senate, I'll be trying to reflect their views in the coming months and the coming 2 or 3 years.
Congratulate you and tell you I love you and God bless you, and I hope people aren't frightened, because that's the way you get control in any situation, if they can frighten you out of doing the right thing.
They won't frighten me. Now, you saw this thing about the neuropsychologist in Boston who said you measure stress by how many times you blink a minute.
Yeah.
Bush blinked 53 times a minute during the debates. Clinton blinked 47. I blinked 7 times a minute. So maybe we're at a point in history where the American people need a tough old bird who can take the heat and won't blink.
Attacking affirmative action. You know, I don't know why he's doing that. He may need it. The way his election is going. Now, after November 5th, the Republicans could be a minority. Be very careful here. Icy chill came over the sun. Here's something interesting. A psychologist at Boston College has concluded that frequent eye blinking indicates high stress. Like during the debate, you see people going like this. Actually, I think it's true. You know, I looked at some people. I looked at tape of people just to see how often they blink, because that could be an indication that something's wrong. And look at this one here. Now watch. Now look at
So the blinking fast during stress, I have named the Nixon effect, because he was the inspiration during that resignation speech. People have done blink research for a long time, but what I do is I put a label on things. I synthesize things. So not new that fast blinking is related to stress. It's been going on since 1927. A couple of Scotsmen went to the zoo and started teasing some animals. Saw them blinking fast. So, but I put labels on things so people can remember them and bring them together, get principles. So I don't want you to think I originated all this stuff. No. see on this next tape, which isn't all that clear, is my putting electrodes on a colleague, and, EOG, electrooculography. I put electrodes on around the eyes in this experiment. And when the eyes blink, it puts out a potential, an electrical potential. I won't go into it. So I put electrodes on the eyes and it gives out electrical potential. And it can be harnessed so that when you feed the wires coming from the eyes into a computer, you can get a fixation point from those wires into a Macintosh. So if you program an alphabet matrix, a person can talk to you with their eyes. You move the eyes to the left, you get an A. You move the eyes to the right, and you get a G. Because you're harnessing the electrical potentials horizontally and vertically to get a fixation point. Now on the slide, you're going to see a guy doing word processing with it, and then you're going to see something very dramatic. But let's just go, I think we can do let's see if it says video. Oh, when the tongue goes silent, the eyes can talk. Maybe that's inaccurate for this. When the tongue goes silent, the eyes must talk. Chris, I gotta change this. Next slide. Okay, electrooculography, big word. Picture, graph, of electrical activity of the eyes. That's all. And I just explained it to you. Next slide. Okay, go back one, and let's do the video. Yeah, would you please? I might not be able to see it up back, but you'll see the tic-tac-toe, which is kind of impressive too, except it's with sheets. Now the wires are going on to get vertical line movements up and down, and then on the other side of his head there's one of these. So these get vertical line movements, these two get lateral line movements. Together they give a fixation point on a computer. Now watch. I think he says hello everybody, H-E. L O B V E R Y. E O D will front the body. So isn't that's slow compared to word processing, but you'll see why it's important. Now what? This cheat sheet's the computer should have put it 0. Now watch the next one, really cheap. And the computer would have gone over here. I'm embarrassed to show that. Now here's something. Change the tenor. Sorry. Here's something that will change the tenor of this whole presentation. This is, it just grabs me each time. It's slide. Now you can see where someone had trouble talking, as some of the children at the campus school at Boston College who have had spinal cord lesions, cerebellar lesions in the back of the brain. They can't talk and they cannot move their hands. So they cannot operate a computer. So we put the electrodes on their eyes to let them talk to the computer through their eyes. So in the old days, they had a binary switch on each shoulder. Mary, do you have to pee? No. You hungry? Yes. Binary. Yes, no. Now, they can go up and say, I want to watch TV. I want to be with my family. I need my medicine. I'm hurting. I need food. So now, with a menu on the screen, they can use their eyes to choose one of those to fit their essential needs. Next slide. You program the computer to allow this little girl to do finger painting, now called, and she did. And of course, we just programmed it so the way she moved her eyes, different colors would come up. And that is this lovely little girl's eye painting. She cannot use her hands with the finger painting. You cannot speak. And now, I have to tell you, in St. Petersburg, I had these tough Russian guys in the audience, and when I showed this, don't send, don't show it yet, no. When I show this next slide, they melted. I think I saw one Russian with a tear in his eye, because the artist who did the eye painting is now going to show you the ultimate definition of happiness for someone who has nothing. Is that an angel?
Yes, wow.
Next slide. Brief pause, next slide. Do we have time to show the Katie Couric?
Yes.
Okay, now watch, there's one moment, we didn't get along, so there's one moment in there where I stalk her with my body language. I go like this. It's very subtle, but it's really a very aggressive gesture on television in front of millions of people. Right? So watch for the stalking.
It's all about, I'm professional. You are the man. Good to see you. 12 minutes past the hour. Here's Kate.
Thanks, Matt, and thank you, John. So what can you actually tell in a blink of an eye? Well, Professor Joe Tesch says a lot. He's a neuropsychologist at Boston College, and he analyzes public debates using a method that correlates the number of times a person blinks to their stress level. And he had a chance to put his skills to use during last night's presidential debate. Professor Tesch, good morning. Nice to see you. Well, pardon me if I cast a slightly jaundiced, unblinking eye at this theory, but you have to tell me the scientific basis for this. It's called eye blink hedonia hypothesis.
Yeah, hedonia means feeling, and therefore I think there is a connection between how people feel and how rapidly they blink.
And if they're stressed or feel agitated or anxious, they blink more.
Yes.
How does that correlate, or how does that really have any impact on a presidential election?
It's possible that if your voters look at somebody who's blinking rapidly, they might make an inference that that person is insecure, perhaps lacking in self-confidence, and maybe I don't want to vote for that guy.
And oftentimes you contend that people do this subconsciously somehow. They're not even aware of the sort of subtle message rapid blinking is sending them as they watch someone.
Sure. Lots of decisions we make, lots of impressions we have are made outside awareness. I'm not aware of them. In the debate, you listen to the message and you're consciously aware of how you're evaluating the candidate. The visual cues are not part of that interaction, and therefore they can be interpreted at a subliminal level, if you will.
All right, well, let's talk about last night's debate. When it comes to who blinked more, that was Vice President Al Gore in this case, correct?
Yes, it was a dramatic change from the first debate. Gore blinked less frequently, which was up around 82 blinks per minute, and Gore was only 47. The normal range on camera for you and I, for example, now, would be 30 to 50 blinks per minute. There was a change for Bush from 82 blinks per minute down to 29. That's a 53 blink per minute drop. Substantial. For Gore, the drop was from 47 in the first debate to 40 blinks per minute last night. That's also a drop. One might conclude that the roundtable discussion, the format, was more conducive to a little more civil, less stressful interaction.
So what does this mean, Professor Tesch? Do we wait for the final debate, add up the blinks, and then decide who's going to win as a result of that?
Yes, in my opinion, Gore won the first debate on blinks, Bush won the second debate on blinks, and the rubber game is coming up next week.
And less people are laughing about this at home. This has been accurate in what, the past 5 elections? Is that right?
Yeah, 2 points. The last 5 elections and the election of 1960, the rapid blinker during the debate lost the election.
doesn't,
However, there's laboratory research, a lot of scientific evidence that shows anything that makes you feel uncomfortable is going to make you blink more frequently.
so he who blinks more loses the presidential race.
Right.
Oh boy, that's pretty nerve-wracking. Right, Joe, thanks so much for coming by. We'll see what happens in the third go round.
My pleasure.
Thanks, nice to
Did you count her blinks?
Yep, next slide. Who said that? You? We rehearsed this. Well, we rehearsed this before. Thank you, Bob, but we rehearsed it well. You did your lines very well.
That's still pretty high, Joe.
30 to 50 and I'm down at 35, stop it. But there's a big difference, and here's the interesting thing. I'm onto something new now. The discrepancy or discordance between two people on blink rate may be an indicator of a discordance between them in a personal way. And the reason I say this is because of the next slide. Allison McCann and I get along great. Oh, geez, they're off again. You know, you remember Katie was 45, I was 35. Now, Allison McCann and I got along really well in the second interview, really well. Chemistry is good and everything, in fact, a little bit too good. And look at the blink rate, and look at the blink rate. So the next slide is my quirky conclusion. Summary of the whole kit and caboodle, and I may have one postscript if we have time. Blink rate goes up with negative states, blink rate goes down with positive states, sorry Natalie, and eye movement control of computers. This technique, because of my two colleagues who are good salesmen, I'm the scientist, they're the salesman, they put it in countries all over the world to help kids talk without a tongue. And it's being used, oh, I gotta tell you the story. Went to the parking lot to work, get out of my car, and Maureen is, the SUV, and the SUV pulls up, and the door opens up, and then I hear this, the elevator goes down, and out comes a wheelchair. And there's the kid I first tested in my lab from campus school. Can't talk, can't move his hands. And she waves to me and said, "Oh, Maureen, you need some help?" No, I just want to tell you. Michael just graduated from high school because of you. I started tearing up. I just couldn't talk. I said, "Oh, nice going, Michael. Bye, Maureen. I got to go to my office." I went to my office and I started crying. I had never had that effect on a human being. He got a high school diploma because of wires sticking out of his eyes. So now I know. Well, yeah. I really wasn't looking for that, but I'll take it. And I should say that Jim Gibson, Peter Oliveri, the two computer guys, really have put this on the map. I'm the scientist, the nerdy guy who discovers and comes up with ideas and teaches them how to do the wires, and then I go home. And they really put it out there big time. So they deserve a lot of credit for that. Now, next slide. Long pause. I'll make this 2 seconds. Next one. I guess to tell you, do I have time for one more thing? Sure. This one's kind of strong. Okay, just give me, I can do the next thing in 5 minutes and be done at 4:09. Okay, we're going to need lights on this one, Andy. Sure. Now, guys, don't forget, pick up on your way out. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, this is going to be interesting. I've never done this before. Wow. I don't have the script. I've got to tell you it. So, this is a test. 2 things. One, Good Samaritan Project, Boston College, uses body language in other ways. My students, 500 by now, for 1 week, each day for 1 week, has to go out and make somebody else happy. You put it in a journal, summarize it at the end of the week, telling me how they felt about it, and they get an A. So my 42 athletes, 42 varsity athletes out of 82 students, they need the grade. They do it. No, they're good, nothing, actually. So they do it, and the stories I get are remarkable on how when you do something good for somebody else, well, I give them an aphorism, it touches them. When one gives, two receive. That's their theme. And there's one other theme. The best way to reduce stress is to do something for someone else. Those are two themes. And it's remarkable what happens. It's just great. Everyone feels good at the end of the week. They do a lot of good things, and everyone's happy. But this next thing, and I'm going to try, I forgot the script, but I'm going to try to say it as best I can, and bear with me. She pulled over into a parking lot off the road because her car wasn't working right, and she waited there for someone to come by and help. And finally, an old car pulled up next to her Mercedes, and he said, "Can I help you, ma'am?" And she said, "Yes, I'm from Wisconsin, and I'm here out in the east, and my car won't work, and I need some help." "No problem." She looked frightened. She looked tired. Brian knew that feeling because he had been there before. So he got under the car, and he scraped his knuckles, and he fixed a couple of things here, tightened the lug bolts. He said, "Okay, ma'am, you're all set now. You can go." She says, "How much do I owe you?" "Oh, you don't owe me anything, ma'am. I've been there. I've been helped by people." No, you don't owe me anything." And she said, "Thank you. Well, you do owe me one thing. The next time you see someone that needs help, you help them and think of me." So he said, "I'm Brian Anderson, and I'm glad to have met you. Goodbye." So she went down the road. She saw this dingy cafeteria, and she parked there, and she went in, and she looked awful. And the waitress came up, 8 months pregnant, with a smile on her face, and said, "Ma'am, can I help you?" And the woman said, "Wow, she's been on her feet all day, and she's so happy and spry. I need some food." "Okay." Waitress brought her some wet napkins, and so she could clean her face and all that. Just waited on her. And the lady finished up, and she said, "Thank you so much." And she said, "Here's $100. And the waitress said, "Okay, I'll be right back with the change." Waitress came back, the lady slipped out the door. And she saw a note on the napkin. "I have been there just now. Someone helped me like I want to help you. If you want to remember me, do as I am doing to you and be good to others, because that's who you are. You have been very good to me all while I have been here." And under the napkin, 4 $100 bills. And the waitress said, "Oh my gosh, how did she know my husband was in tough shape and we need the money for the baby coming?" Well, she was tired. She finished the day, and the lady complimented her on her smile, as I said. Got in her car, went home, got ready for bed. Her husband was in bed, so she snuggled up next to him and she said, "It was a tough day, but I want you to know that I love you, Brian Anderson." I can't get through that last thing. Thank you. We have a few minutes for questions and answers. Phil first, because I wasn't nice to
I've got a question for you.
No, Phil first. Phil Day, answer first. question because it's a segue to something I wanted to say at the beginning, but I didn't want to interfere with things. Guess what? Coffee, the stimulant, is a relaxant in the first 30 to 50 minutes. Now, come on, who here has drunk coffee and felt relaxed in the next half hour? Gotta be. That's all? Oh no, just a 5, 6. It's universal. I published an article in 1974 on amphetamine making brain waves go down and people drowsy in the first 30 minutes. And of course, then you know what happens in the second and third hour. I think it just takes off. I published it. I sat on it for 2 years. I was afraid to make a fool of myself. A stimulant makes you drowsy. And then the New York Times picked it up from Science, which is a prestigious journal. And a truck driver wrote me and said, when I go on my long haul routes, I take my no-dos and my Benzedrine, and I get so tired in that first half hour after that no-dos and that Benzedrine, I have to pull over the side of the road and take a little nap. Housewives. Yes, doctor, you're right. I drink a cup of coffee at 11 o'clock to go to sleep. If I'm in my department, I take a cup of coffee at 3 o'clock to take a nap. So, coffee is a stimulant, but in the first half hour, luckily I have mine earlier. First half hour, it's a relaxing. One more piece of good news and then I'll get to it. Coffee, okay, background. There's a process in our body where nature asks for an invoice. You breathe and you use oxygen. You eat food and you use oxygen. And it's called oxidation stress because when you use oxygen molecules cut loose, their configuration, their electronic configurations change, and they go throughout the body killing normal cells. It's called oxidation stress. Nature's trump card. Nature says, pay me, I'm letting you stay alive. Coffee is an antioxidant. Dark chocolate is an antioxidant. That made you bite. Dark chocolate, coffee, good for you in moderation. So yeah, if you take the drug, it relaxes you, it makes less. In fact, I would say you get drowsy the first half hour. Isn't that neat? If you don't get sleep though in the first half hour, coffee's going to make you sleep. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Based on the fact that you're a Massachusetts resident and you also have done some tremendous research on blink rates, I'd like to have you join me, and I think we can make a fortune as co-managers for a new presidential candidate, our former Senate President, Mr. Finneran.
Oh, I missed it.
Mr. Finneran, our former Senate President. We'll run him for president. You don't remember Mr. Finneran? He's never blinked in his life, I don't believe.
Who's paying attention tonight? What's this? No.
Just moderate.
Go ahead, go. Yes, everything in moderation. If you're going to the unblinking reptilian stare, you're going to scare people away because you're a robot.
So is he guilty?
No, I'm not being funny. That's serious. That's serious. So no, you got to be careful on that. Now, what's the other guy's name? The other state senator, short guy, Bill. Bulger. He teaches at BC, so I bump in once in a while. He's not a fast. He's a low blinker, not too low, not reptilian, but low blinker. Dooley Bulger. No, this guy's not. You saw Ross. Woo. Right. That was a great question.
Can we assume that you think that OJ might not
Was O.J. Simpson innocent or guilty? I don't like to comment on anything but the blinks. I will tell you that we have the tapes from the trial. He's relatively low blinker during the trial. Because I think he had it with Cochran in his pocket. I think he had it made. But this one, you saw his rapid eye movement. His blink rate went up. And it's funny. His blink rate is, what's the number in his jersey? 32. That's his blink rate.
Yeah, that's right.
During the trial, his blink rate was the same as on his jersey. I will say that in my 32 blinks per minute. So he's a won't go into all the evidence, but right now, well, no, I will say one thing, this is outside the talk. For anyone to go into a hotel room in daylight and pull armed robbery for memorabilia means, to me, he had so much guilt that he was just waiting for a chance to be punished. Okay, one more quick story. There is a famous philosopher who, French philosopher, his name skips me. No, the other one. Rousseau, okay, Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Had a baby. No, he didn't have a baby. His wife had a baby. And they put it up into a family home. Mr. and Mrs. Rousseau had another baby. Put it into the family home. They had a third baby, Bob. Way to go. Fourth baby, Ruth. Family home. Bob, fifth baby, family home. And he was asked, why do you have all these children and you don't take care of them? That's not nice. He said, well, I'm a very important philosopher and I'm very busy and I wouldn't be a good father because I wouldn't be around that much, you know. Well, what did this guy do? He developed strong paranoia a couple of years later where he thought everyone was out to get him. He went to a fruit peddler who was giving fruit to a poor family that couldn't afford it. He said, I know why you're giving them fruit. I know why you're being generous, because my enemies have put you up to this to make me look stingy as I stand alongside you. He went to London and gave a talk. In those days, no jets, they had sailboats. And when he on his return from London, the winds were against him and he couldn't sail for a while. He said, see, even nature is against me. And then he wrote a letter to God to complain about this. And you know, in the old days, in the Catholic Church, there was a long altar rail with a gate. Well, the gate was rusty, it wouldn't open. So we went to mail a tabernacle and it was rusty. He said, see, even God is against me, he won't let me mail a letter. Then he hit rock bottom. He thought his God was against him. So why my projection is, when you have guilt, as O.J. Simpson did and Jean-Jacques Rousseau, he eats away at you, and then sooner or later, these criminals with a lot of guilt put themselves out on a limb, Rousseau, thinking everyone's against him, and O.J. Simpson. Broad daylight, armed robbery, and how they're going to know. I don't know where he is. He's in jail. There it is. They can get it. Gets away with murder, gets away possibly with murder. That's a slip. Two more, and then we go home.
Right here.
I just couldn't help but wonder while we're looking at the picture of Casey. Now, if she were really sad and sorrowful, and wouldn't a person who was really sad and sorrowful, not necessarily guilty or lying, but wouldn't she exhibit that same? Suppose she was just so overcome with her emotion from her daughter. How can you distinguish between sorrow and her lying attitude?
Okay, now you know the answer to that.
I said you can't distinguish.
No. You need the 3 R's to go along with body language. Nobody can tell you that there is a single, reliable body language indicator of lying. No. There is a reliable body language indicator of stress, eye blinks, feeling uncomfortable. And by the way, Obama looks away not because he's lying. I think Obama, and this is totally an opinion, I think he's a shy man. I think he's easily intimidated because he was expecting someone to disagree with him. The reporter was going to try to nail him with a follow-up question. And I think he is uncomfortable in the role of a dyadic one-to-one interaction. Better up on the rostrum, but in one-to-one, I think Obama is intimidated and I think he looks down a lot. Now, Mary Jo disagrees, and Mary Jo says, sometimes when you're thoughtful, you want to look away so that you can think through your issue without the distraction of these 94 eyeballs looking at you. additional evidence, 3 hours at the best. 3 hours at the best, because even if someone's biting their fingernails, blinking, tapping their foot, if they're nervous, they're upset. Not necessarily, what about O.J. Simpson?